Hey, this is Mad Movie Mark with the Mad Movie Mark Movie Review. Thank you for joining me as I review the 1927 silent comedy The Kid Brother. Hey, there's no reason to have that reaction. There's no need to be frightened. I think this is going to be a pretty good review. If this is your first time joining me, I'm reviewing every movie in this book, the 1001 movies you must see before you die. The Kid Brother stars Harold Lloyd and Jobana Ralston. Harold Lloyd plays Harold, and Jobana plays Mary. Harold Lloyd is considered to be one of the three great pioneers of comedy, especially during the silent era. The other two are Buster Keaton and Charlie Chaplin. Now, I have seen and reviewed my fair share of Buster Keaton movies and Charlie Chaplin movies. I would say at this point in my life, I've seen more Buster Keaton movies, which is a huge surprise to me because I love Charlie Chaplin so much. But I have never seen a Harold Lloyd movie until today. This is my first Harold Lloyd movie ever. I have never seen his most popular movie, Safety Last, but that is one that I definitely need to watch. Now, when watching movies like this, I have to remind myself that these are pioneers of comedy, which means that a lot of the things they're doing here are the first time we've ever seen it on screen. During this era, these comedy gags were considered to be hilarious. Now, throughout the decades, many movies have borrowed from these three gentlemen. Many actors, many comedic actors have heavily borrowed, and over time I think these movies are less funny because they're less topical and because their comedy has been reused so many times. But we have to remember that a lot of this is the first time this has been seen. So when this movie opens up, we are introduced to the Hickory family. The Hickory family consists of Sheriff Jim, who is the patriarch, and he is one of the more prominent members in the town. He is considered to be one of the wealthiest members in town. He has three sons, Leo and Olin, who are both strapping young gentlemen who can not only help around the town, the barn, the farm that they own, but can also be kind of strongmen throughout the town and kind of get whatever they want because they are strapping young gentlemen. Their third child is Harold, who would appear that he belongs behind a desk. He is not someone who is considered a strapping young gentleman. He is more of a nerdy type character who is the black sheep of the family, who is not treated as well by their father. When this movie opens up, the sheriff, Olin, and Leo are off to a town meeting where they are discussing buying a dam for the town. Apparently the members of the town are pulling all of their money together to try to buy this dam, and they need someone to hold the money while they collect all of it. So eventually they will nominate Sheriff Jim to be the person who holds this money. Now, while they are away, Harold decides to put on the sheriff's outfit and pretend like he is a big man in town, like he is a big strapping sheriff and he has some sort of authority. And while he has this getup on, he is met by this traveling medicine man who is a con artist. You know, he is a snake oil salesman. Now, these are people that the real Sheriff Jim usually tells them to go away and that they don't want him in their town. He knows that they're con artists and he refuses to let them take advantage of the people. But Harold is not someone who is strong-willed. He is someone who is easily swayed. He is someone who is like an oh gosh, golly gee type of character where he will do anything that the authority tells him to do. And the medicine man does elicit some sort of authority. He says, here, I need you to sign this piece of paper. Sign it now. Now, Harold is a bit, he doesn't want to sign it. He knows he's not supposed to, but the medicine man basically takes his hand and forces his signature, stating that he can set up shop in town and sell his wares. So when the three gentlemen get back, Jim, Leo, and Olin, they do not know that this has happened until later at night when the medicine man is giving his con job speech, and someone from town goes up to the sheriff and asks if he's going to attend. The sheriff gets upset and he says, who allowed this to happen in our town? And of course it was Harold. So he tells Harold to go shut it down. Now Harold is attracted to the female dancer in this group. Her name is Mary, and he has a hard time going there and expressing any type of dominance over these people. Part of this medicine man sideshow is also a strong man who is very tall, and you can tell he is he's either a murderer or a rapist. I think he's both in this movie. He's low-key rapist, but he definitely murders someone in this movie. So Harold Lloyd has a hard time with the way his personality is, telling these people that they need to disperse. And instead of telling them they need to disperse, they end up just making him look like a fool and like tying him up to things and making him part of the act when he didn't want to be part of the act. And they pretty much make him and his family look like idiots. Now, at the same time, there's this really stupid subplot in this movie where there is a neighbor who is feuding with Harold, and he ends up throwing a rock at Harold, and it misses, and it ends up hitting this flame and lights the entire thing on fire, and the entire medicine man thing goes up in flames. And this Mary girl who lived with this crew loses her home, and she then has to go home with Harold because she apparently has now fallen in love with him for some reason. I think it's because he seems like a really nice guy. She also, though, thinks that he is the sheriff and he has some sort of authority. So I don't know if she likes him for that reason or because he seems like he's a nice guy. But she ends up going home with him. And the neighbor he is feuding with. So at the home, the brothers of Harold act embarrassed when they see that there is a woman in their house because they're in their pajamas, even though they look like regular day clothes, not really, because they're so long. They're like long johns. They act incredibly embarrassed, and it becomes this really weird comedic routine where they're trying to hide from the woman, and Harold is doing his best to like not let them hide. But it's supposed to be funny. I'm sure back then it was hilarious. It just seems weird. It just seems weird and awkward today because in today's world, there's not a lot of guys are going to be that embarrassed if a woman sees them in long johns. So it was funny back then, not as funny today. It's this whole routine where they're running around the house trying to hide from this woman, and she barely not being caught at every time around the corner. Eventually she goes home, but the brothers don't know that she goes home, and they think that she's like behind this curtain, even though it's Harold behind the curtain. And it becomes another comedic routine that's not really that funny. Eventually, the neighbor that Harold is feuding with comes over and says, with his mother, and says, a decent woman should not be living in a house with only men, so she has to come live with us. Which is a very weird scene because she doesn't know the neighbors, and he is actively feuding with this gentleman, so I'm not sure why the hand was forced for her to go there just out of pure decency. I would like to add in this movie that Harold was 34 when he made this movie, and Jabana, who plays Mary, was 28. It seems a bit ridiculous that grown adults, one of which who is mid-30s, is still considered such a black sheep in the family, that he's going through all of this, and that a woman who's 28 is not able to make her own choices as to where and obviously she's supposed to be younger in this movie, but she doesn't look younger. To me, she looks like she's in her 20s. He looks like he's in his 30s. That adds to a bit of the ridiculousness and hard for me to believe what is happening in this movie. The fact that the movie is called The Kid Brother and the Kid Brother's 34 makes it a bit unbelievable. The whole synopsis and the whole premise of this movie is, I would say they're all too old to be playing these parts, and it does not seem reasonable that they're in these situations. But anyway, she goes on to live with this family that she doesn't know because there's a woman living in the house. And at the same time, Harold tries to go over to visit her, but of course he is feuding with the neighbor, so it becomes there's some funny bits in here where Harold disguises animals to look like people in order to get away from this neighbor. And I would say there's a couple situations where it's actually pretty funny, where I thought they were people and they were animals. So those bits were pretty hilarious. We then get to a point where the medicine men overhear that the town is pulling their money together and that the money is at the sheriff's office, and they end up stealing the money and keeping it for themselves. Now, when the town hears that the money is gone, they blame the sheriff, and they immediately think that the sheriff is keeping the money for himself, even though he's pretty predominant in the town and pretty rich. They think that he stole it, so he sends his children off to find the two children, Olin and Leo, off to find out who stole the money, and says that Harold shouldn't go because this is something that only men can do, not boys. This is not something that a boy should be doing, a boy of 34 years old. So of course Harold's going to go off on his own, and I don't know if this is a spoiler alert, but of course Harold is going to be the one who saves the day because he's the underdog. The whole movie has been told that he can't do things and that he shouldn't try because he is too small. So clearly, if they're trying to make a moral statement here, which most movies except The Jazz Singer do, he is going to be the one who saves the day. So he ends up somehow knowing that they're on a boat, and he sails off in this little boat to their bigger boat. Now, the medicine man and the strong man are counting the money, and it seems like the medicine man is trying to take advantage of the strong man with how much of a cut he is getting. So the strong man kills him. It's off screen, and I don't know if it's supposed to be left up in the air to whether or not he is dead. I believe that he is dead, based on him stuffing the body like under the boat, and you never see the medicine man again. A murder took place during this comedy, and then there's this long scene where Harold and the strong man are chasing each other on the boat. The strong man is trying to kill Harold. Harold is just trying to get the money back, and it's a lot of comedic things that are going on here. It's actually very tense. There are a lot of back and forths going on between the two, to where Harold does hold his own, but not through strength. He holds his own through cunning and being able to outsmart this gentleman, who is clearly not very smart. Because a lot of things he does to outsmart him are not really that inventive. But this guy's supposed to be just like a brainless brute, and he is easily overtaken eventually by Harold, because Harold is much more cunning and is a better planner than this guy. It kind of reminds me of The Princess Bride, where you have Fezzik, and you have the guy that Andre the Giant played, and the Man in Black, and not the Man in Black, sorry, Inigo Montoya, and he talks about how he has no gift for planning, and that it's all Fezzik who used to plan everything. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Harold ends up saving the day by getting the money back and capturing this brute who took all the money. And at the end of the movie, the father embraces Harold and says, "My son, I am so proud of you, and you are now back in the family. We now consider you to be one of our own," even though it should have been that way the whole time. So that's basically the whole movie. I did think, so I'm going to be honest, the first half kind of bored me. I was not at all a fan of the feud between him and the neighbor, because I thought they were just too old for these shenanigans and these hijinks that were happening. I honestly think, like I said before, Harold Lloyd is too old for this movie, and he's too old for this role. And I also think that Jabana is also, however you say her name, she's also too old for this role. I think that this would better have been done by someone who was clearly either in their later teens or early 20s. This might have been more believable, but even that might have been a little bit too old for this type of movie. And I just think that the hijinks that he's getting himself in is too much for an adult who clearly is, he's clearly an intelligent person. He's just socially awkward, but socially awkward goes a little too far in this movie. I realize it has to be exaggerated for a movie, but I think it's just too exaggerated here. So the first half of this movie I thought was just pedestrian. Like I said in the opener, I know that he's pioneering a lot of these things, but it's just not that funny to me. I will say there are some really amazing scenes in this movie, one of which is where he's climbing a tree, and the way he climbs it and the way the camera is panning up as he's climbing the tree is actually pretty crazy. They had to have done it on like some sort of makeshift elevator or crane or something. So that was a pretty cool scene to watch. The end of the movie is very fast paced. Things come at you very quickly. Things are happening very fast. It is very comedic. I love the ending. Probably the last, this is an hour and a half movie. The last maybe 30 minutes I think are fantastic, and the rest of it are it's just kind of boring. And the whole scene where the medicine man's cart and everything's burning down and they're making Harold look like a fool, I thought was the worst part of this movie. It's just so cringy and it's not funny to me and it's hard to watch. But I think the last half saves it. I think that the last half really makes this movie what it is. And then obviously the scene where he's climbing up the tree, some of the camera stuff they do here is really good. I still give it an 8 out of 10. It's not a bad movie. It's just, it's been reused. All this stuff has been reused so many times throughout the years that it doesn't feel unique, even though it's more unique than any of the other movies because it's the first time that it was done. But I just feel like I've seen it so many times that I had a hard time getting into it. But I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. I hope you join me next time when I review a movie called The Crowd. Thank you.